Right. Okay. You do. You know what to do, don't you? Right.
Yes.
Hi. Welcome back to the live stream tonight, and we've got a special guest tonight. So before the panel's just sorting out their various different live streams and different social media platforms. But obviously, Ken, would you just like to give us a very brief introduction to who you are?
Yeah, thanks, Carl. So my name's Ken Veach. I was kind of born in Bridgevallon in central Scotland, and since traveled the world doing different things, and so just currently finishing off my career at a couple of investment banks. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. So I'm 66, so I think it's important to know how old people are, given the subject we're speaking about. So yeah, just 1 month inside 66.
So just for your benefit, Ken, I'll ask the terrible duo that's at the bottom of the screen calling to me. If you can just give us a very brief intro of yourselves.
Do you want to go first, Ben?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm Lydia. I've been on sort of a carnivore journey for under 3 years, and Ben's joined us from LA into England, and he's going to be speaking at an event on Saturday, so that's really, really exciting.
Which is ironic, being a Yank, and it's 4th of July, stealing our country from us.
You gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm Benjamin, and I created a book called Why You Suck: How to Reclaim Your Health, the Ultimate Health Model. Created Cell City. I created a whole bunch of things. I'm a visionary. That's what I think. That's the best title for me. Oh, look, Carl.
Oh,
look.
sorry, I'll put it back in the shop.
No, we got the better book now.
Oh, right, I've only got second rubbish then.
It's got the award-winning book right here. So
Right,
it's got a
very
favorite guy on the back, Dr. Kiltz. He says the best book on the
That's enough of your shameless advertising. You can sell them on Saturday. Right, so normally we have Al come and join us. I don't know where he is. I've sent him a quick message. He might be on call, and obviously he's got to work when he's got to work. So we'll see if he comes and joins us afterwards. So just the slight change of plan for this one, because normally on Metabolic Monday we have a couple of subjects to discuss and we sort of fresh it around. Al put me on to Ken. Ken, in your little bio you sent me the other day, you mentioned that you were reasonably decent at sports. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your earlier background, and then we'll go into what happened?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I was really interested in athletics, and I then sort of ran the 100 and 200 meters for Scotland. Got a Scottish vest, got a British vest, and ran 10.87 for the 100 meters when I was 16. Unfortunately, I was the same age as Linford Christie. And obviously, Linford Christie became the Olympic champion, but he was the only person in the UK who beat me at that time. But he beat me so badly, I gave up and went ski instructing. Right, we're not talking inches. Is it a good foot and a bit, and that's a long time. So I was training, 5 nights a week, really hard. In Scottish winters, going up hills, making yourself sick, really, really, really pushing it. So, and I played football for a long, long time. I sort of gave up about 3 years ago because of my Achilles tendons. I then became a ski instructor. So really, I'm used to sort of, being fit and healthy, and I played football all through my life. Got married at 28, had a family at 32, and at that stage I was playing. Okay, so at that stage, I was playing sort of high level semi-pro football, and I was 91 kilos. 91 kilos, between 80 and 91 kilos was my kind of usual weight through my 30s. In between the 45 and 50, had 2 boys, who are now men, and so for some reason I got to 100 kilos in between 45 and 50. I didn't feel too bad because underneath all the structure was there to keep fit and whatever, but I just didn't look so good, right? And I'll come to why I think this is important in a bit. But I mean, I think it's you just go through life and you get to a stage, and I've never been ill until I met Al last year, and we'd gone up to Lochinver, and just that storm maybe was coming in, and I had a UTI, which is a bit unusual for men, but it actually became and it's important to the story with Al that it was an enlarged prostate that was backing up in urine, and not too much to go into that, but yeah, that's how I met Al, and he gave me some pills, but he also gave me a couple of books, which were kind of really interesting to read, from my point of view, which was Fork in the Road and Metabolical. And I thought Metabolical was like absolutely an outrageous read. But going back to the 100 kilo thing, and this is important for where I'm going to go with this, is that, I've always loved chocolate, even when I was a kid, and, even being an athlete, biscuits, crisps, usually like that. But I think Coca-Cola was my downfall as far as insulin resistance goes. I'm not a type 2, but type 2 diabetic on metformin. But it's outrageous, right? I think it should be banned. It's that bad. Right. And I've researched into, full-fat Coca-Cola. I think it's probably the worst thing that is out there for people to sell. And how it gets into the World Cup and Wimbledon and all the rest of it, I'm not saying it's in Wimbledon, but, how it gets marketed, because it's gruesome. The amount of stuff you put in your body, from a full-fat Coca-Cola. And my wife and I were talking about this today. And I used to have maybe 3 big glasses of Coca-Cola an evening. And I think nothing, it's just a drink, right? Yeah. But I think that... I go back to when I met Al, and he gave me the books, and the good news out of I had an aquablator prostate, which is fine now, a month and a half ago. Fantastic procedure. If you're going to have one, have the aquablation. But metabolically, I'm good. So there's no sinisters in the bladder, the stomach, the prostate, kidneys, nothing. So from that respect, I'm sort of got a tick in the box at my age at 66, which I think, that's good. So it was more a physical thing than a metabolic thing, but that was how I met Al, and I've sorted out the physical thing, but now I'm really interested in the metabolic thing, because all this stuff that we're getting at the moment, and may I continue? It's all right. I want to try and get this out, because I think
far away.
What we are lacking is, and I've called it this, it's not a thing, but it's an FIE. We are lacking an FIE, which is a food impact education. Right? Not a FIs for FIs or FIs for PIs, right? But a FI, a food impact education. And I've kind of coined the phrase this morning, literally, because reading Metabolical and other books of the same thing, and talking to my doctor, and my doctor said, he said, listen, we had really minimal time during the 7 years to become a GP, right? Minimal time to actually sort of look at diet and food and what we should be, telling people, right? He says, literally, it was skimmed over and away we went, right? And I think it's skimmed over because, we've got the food industry, we've got the pharma and all the rest of it, right? So doctors are actually treating the symptom, right? They say, well, what's your symptom? And here's your medication. And who wins? The doctors wins, the pharma wins, and it's a pill for everything.
Yeah.
But they're missing the first part of the trifecta. The trifecta to me is a cause, a symptom, and a treatment. They've missed out the cause, right? They're not treating the cause, they're treating the symptom. So, and that's fine. I know they're busy and whatever, but I think there's some fundamental issues with the training of doctors in the medical profession. Now, I know an orthopedic surgeon, a shoulder surgeon, it's difficult to say, some GPs, other people that I know, and they say, look, really, it's not a thing. We're on to the things that make a difference. I said, but don't you think the cause would make a difference, that we reduce the symptoms, that we reduce the medication, that the pharma are not interested in that, and neither are the food people. And, okay, you guys are preaching to the converted here, right? I guess, and how I'm looking at this is that they should go back and look at what they're doing with FIE, the food impact education, of the doctors and obviously therefore the people. And we could, in general, have an FIE for the general public. In the extent that I think there should be an FIE government department. Right? Not you'll get one with these set of clowns, but the thing is that I think the FIE should be there as part of any strategy or policy of any government going forward. Now, the reason I say that is that having read Fork in the Road and you know having and also Metabolic and other books, they're hard reads, right? They're hard reads, and I'm going to say this in as a nice way as possible. The average person doesn't have the capability to read these books, digest them, and apply them. And I've spoken to this to Al as well, right? And I said, these are great books, but mate, you know, you're going to get some people are going to go 3 pages and they're going to go, not reading that.
Yeah.
I read them all because I'm interested in this. You know, I wrote a paper in AI in 1985, which was never a thing, but you know, so I'm interested in the detail and the analytical aspects and the math behind it, right? But trying to get these books out, the ordinary person in the street to digest, because the ordinary person's there, and you got the people who are really struggling, probably from a capacity point of view, and maybe from a poverty point of view, and therefore eating all the wrong food point of view. Getting that information down there is difficult. Now, there's obviously a fiscal aspect of what food you can afford against, you know, against what you should eat. So, Lydia, I guess you know you're you know, or on the carnivore, you know, sort of meat angle, and that is expensive, right? And people who are really struggling really just can't afford that stuff, and the meat that they can afford is pretty poor quality. I would say. I'm being generalistic here, but that's all I can say. But I think the FIE, the food impact education, has to become a thing, because I've got 2 type 1 diabetic boys, right? And you know, I've got type 2, but these are 2 different things. One's genetic, and maybe I'll get solved going forward from a type 1 perspective, and I will be hallelujah when that happens for both my boys, or men now. They've coped extremely well. One works for Goldman Sachs, the other one is a professional musician. But I think I think there needs to be this education that is completely and utterly missing, right? And this is why I thank Al for twisting me onto this. And the diet thing wasn't a UTI connective, if you wish, you know, 6 or 7 months ago. But what it did do, it switched me on to the diet that I'm on now, which is, you know, fairly high protein, you know, quite a bit of meat, you know, still using very clean eating, you know, sort of my wife cooks from scratch because she likes that as well. We're not vegetarians, we're not vegans, we're not extreme eaters in any way, but we're trying to eat as clean as we can with the stuff that we like. And I think, you know, there are extremes as the vegans, there's the, you know, the people who don't touch this or touch that. I think you need to have a balanced diet, but it needs to be clean and it needs to be devoid of sugar.
Well, Ken, I must say, I absolutely love your passion. I absolutely love your passion. I can see why you were an elite sportsman with that kind of drive that you have. Before I flick over to Ben, because you've just given probably the best advert for Ben's book you can ever imagine. And that's probably why Ben was giggling a little bit when you were talking. And I'll explain why in a minute. But just to touch, and this is my personal view, to answer your earlier questions, Coca-Cola, why? It's called money. Right. And unfortunately, the big food industries sponsor a lot of sport because they want to be associated to it, even though they're probably the direct opposite to what you need. And unfortunately, healthy people don't make profits. Where if the food companies can make us sick, the drug companies then deal with the sickness. They don't, as you said, they don't deal with the cause, they deal with the symptoms. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned on my journey. I celebrated last Saturday 3 years on and I say carnivore because I've done different versions of it. I've gone from lion to naughty carnivore to seafood carnivore to all sorts, but because I like experimenting around with my channel. But, you know, I hit the last time I weighed myself, I was 130 kilos. I'm 6 foot tall, so I'm 183 centimeters. I told you before in our little tit tat, I did judo, not quite at your quite elite level, but I was not far behind you. It's a thin line, but I was, at a decent level. I played rugby at a good level as well. So I was always big, strong, quite powerful, ate probably 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day just to, keep going. Problem is, when I stopped doing the sport, I carried on eating the 4,000 to 6,000 calories a day and ended up the size I did. And from what you're saying, and I want to go back to some of your elite bit about the food, the dietitian that you've got, but I just want to bring Lydia and Benjamin in, because what you say about the books, I'm reading Professor Ben Bickman's book at the moment, and that is so heavy.
Yep.
I can probably read a chapter at a time at best, and I have to probably go back over the chapter to fully grasp it. I read Ben's book, which she's now going to talk about, and I'll warn you, you'll hear the word Cell City. I read Ben's book in just over a week. I think Lydia read it in about 2 days, but she's a bookworm, so she don't count. And Ben's deliberately, or I'll let Ben explain, but he's deliberately targeted it to make it an easy read, so people do read it. Over to you, Ben.
Yeah, thank you.
And can you speak a bit louder, because your mic's rubbish?
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Yeah,
that's good.
Thank you for that, Ken. And the reason I was giggling a little bit, because I've heard this forever. I had a sister pass away from cancer. I had family friends, parents die from cancer, diabetes, heart. It's like, so I know, and so that's why I wrote this book. And when you said food impact education, that's what this book is. But the difference, Ken, is it's not food impact education. It's, what would you call it, Lydia? I call it lifestyle impact education. It's everything. And so the problem,
that could be a lie.
The problem is this, is that everyone focuses on diet because some of these other unknown factors people don't know about, or they're not mainstream. Yeah, they're not mainstream. And so you were talking about Coca-Cola and sugar and all these things, and they're not good. But one of the things that's more important than even that nobody even discusses, is your circadian rhythms and the light, and the way you get morning light, midday light, and evening light. That is actually probably more important than your diet. But it's not sexy to talk about that. And red light glasses. So you're in Scotland, so we're all in the same area, or same time zone. Yeah, so
they don't often see the sun. Although Ken doesn't live in Scotland now, but I would like to add that.
No, I live in Winchester.
So the red lights, or the artificial light at night, if you're not wearing red light glasses, is actually probably doing more harm to you than eating sugar and processed food and everything else, because it's disrupting your circadian rhythms. And so what I did too was, and I'm talking about that this weekend, I created something called Cell City. And what is Cell City? Well, when I created my book, I'll show you the rudimentary picture of it. I created the body as a city, because when I learned that the mitochondria were the power plants, and that the immune system was the police force, stuff like that, I realized something, that this is engineered in some way. And so this is the first drawing of this. I don't know if you could see this, but can you see that, Carl? So the top one is a healthy city. You got a wall around it, police force. You got the planes in the sky, and the satellite dishes that are the communication. And look at the bottom one. The bottom one is the city falling apart. And what that is it's when you're eating too much sugar, you're stressed out, you're not getting the sun. That's what the cell looks like. And that smoke is what's called reactive oxygen species in the cell, which is pollution. So it all relates to a city. And so that's the first drawing that I made in the book. But after that, I expanded on that analogy 1,000,000 times over. So what I mean by that, so I created a whole course around this. Lydia took it. She's the first graduate of the course I created in Cell City. And so why is that important? I'll kind of finish there, is because just what you were saying, with this course, and when you know Cell City, you get these 3 questions answered, Ken. You stop being afraid of your health, because you said you had urinary infection and different things like that, all these. So you stop being afraid of your health, because you understand how your city runs. You get clarity over confusion. So just what you're saying about Coca-Cola and sugar, well, you'll understand I can drink 1 Coke a month, or it's not going to harm my city because my city is resilient and strong and thriving. But if your city is under constant inflammation, constant stress, then that sugar is going to be more of an impact. And the last question it answers is you can start answering your own health questions. You can start understanding exactly what's happening to you all day, every day. Exactly what you were just saying. And so I'm glad you brought up that food impact education, because this is your life impact education. And when you read this or you take my Cell City course, all these things just start to make sense. And I did it because I have to. It's my mission in life, because I've had family members pass away, and this is what I have to do. So there you go. How's that?
Perfect. Perfect.
Brilliant. So just taking a step back, Ken, you were elite sport. If you're representing Scotland, you're representing GB or whatever affiliation that was you're involved in. You obviously had dietitians. What was the sort of advice you got as an elite sportsman in those days?
Well, interestingly enough, that this would be from 71 to 77, right? And I'd like to think that we got nutrition advice and whatever. I was an only child, and we lived in a reasonable kind of sort of household sort of thing. So we weren't struggling to eat food. My mum wasn't the best cook. My dad was really the better cook. So I mean, this was down to me to try to decide what I was going to eat. And I think, interestingly, what I know now, I could have eaten better to gain more muscle strength, structure, or whatever. I mean, I'd like, huge legs and obviously as you get older, they kind of shrink away, and I'm looking at them going, oh, this is not good looking good, right? But at that time, you were just eating what was there, right? We didn't eat rubbish because the rubbish didn't start until 1980. And this is my second point, right? Is that whatever food was getting put on the table, whether it be ham, Scotch eggs, or whatever, it was pretty much cooked from scratch, or put together and cooked, and there might have been some boiled cabbage and some inedible shit that you that you would eat today. But it wasn't in a plastic wrapper, and it wasn't full of sugar, and it have all the saturates and all the rest of it. So I didn't have diet advice or food advice then, because I guess we weren't what I deem is infected in about 1980 onwards. So what I was doing, it wasn't really affecting me at that stage of what I was doing. And then I went on to become a ski instructor and stuff like that. But I mean, I think it's interesting. The timeline is really, really interesting to me, because I looked at this and I thought, well, this wasn't a thing. You wouldn't get a pre-packed lasagna in 1976.
No, true.
Right? You just wouldn't. And I think that came in about 80, 81, and then it went off. It was like, they saw a way of making money, and people say, oh, this is easy, faster, quicker, better, and all the rest of it, microwaves. And so a long way to answer your question. So I didn't have any, sort of diet advice or, for my athletics, purely because I think, I was eating quite well, and it was all, pretty decent stuff, It wasn't steak every night, but I mean,
because there's a chap who's a carnivore I've met a few times now. I think his name's Duncan Smartweather. He's a triathlete, but he's a senior triathlete for the GB team. Once he switched to carnivore, his performances improved remarkably. and the fact he didn't need to refuel constantly with carbohydrate because he'd got his program in such a way. I also did an interview last year with an elite cyclist in America who does the American cycle tours, a bit like our Tour de France and all that rubbish. And he was carnivore, and he got 2 other people to do it, and they're recording this year's performance. But he's already told me he's about 22% improvement in 2 areas. One, in terms of actual endurance, but 2, the fact that he's not refueling as quickly as he thinks he used to, because he's getting more longevity out of what he's doing. And he's putting a lot of that down to fat as opposed to carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's interesting because about 3 years ago, I thought I'd have a trip down memory lane. So I bought myself a pair of spikes, and I went down the local track in Winchester, lovely big new track sort of thing. And when I was younger, we were doing sort of 10-20s, sort of 9-30s, meters, right? And then you end up doing 100 meters and come back down again. So I did about 680 meters before I met Al about this time last year, and I thought, well, it's quite interesting doing this, but so doing it now afterwards, right? Because I'm now back to 91 kilos, right? I wasn't 100 kilos, but I was like 94, 95. After meeting Al, I'm back to 91 kilos. Right? I go to the gym. I swim 40 lengths every other day. I go out on my bike, my road bike, push bike. I box. I got a heavy bag in one of the garages, and so I intermittently go around. But my point being is that doing the 10, 80 meters because I wasn't going to run the 100 meters. Right? I wasn't timing myself, but running these 80 meters before and then running them 80 meters afterwards. Now I feel really free, and I thought, well, I'm really enjoying this now, right? And it's not just because I've lost the weight. It must be something internally that is making me feel right. Well, I'm really flowing here. I actually videoed myself to see what I looked like, and I thought, but going back to when I was 16, 17, but it just losing the weight. Whatever's happening internally, and it's a difficult thing to measure. You can't measure the health of the mitochondria. Maybe you can. I don't know, but. So what my aim is at my age at 66, I want to make sure that I have a decent 10, 20, after this. I don't want to be. I see some people. I mean, look, working in an investment bank, I was an executive director for Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan. Really stressful, right? It's really like top bullshit, corporate bullshit everywhere, right? And you've got to deal with it on a daily basis. And it's people make the problem as opposed to things being a problem. It's just egos and all that sort of stuff. So I can cope with that. It's not a problem. But it does have a kick into you because now I'm kind of semi-retired. I've kind of knocked back and going, yeah, whatever, right? And I'm concentrating. I have 2 jobs, my little jobs that I'm doing at the moment, still getting money in, which is fine. I don't need to work, but I mean, I enjoy it. But my whole job today is me, is my body. This is my new job last year. That's how prolific and I guess specific meaning I was to me that my new job is me.
Yeah.
And also
that
makes total sense.
Let me
say I'll come across to Benjamin again, but Benjamin makes the point. He's made it for a number of weeks now that it's not one thing. So for me, when I first thought, shit, I need to do something, I was thinking about weight. It was about obesity. I was morbidly obese at that sort of weight. Wouldn't admit it at the time, but clearly I was. But I didn't really. I had other health issues, snoring and all the various bits and pieces, high blood pressure. But it's that combination of stress, overweight, not getting the correct sleep, all this sort of side of it that was driving me to a very serious place where I may not be here today. Now, Ben, you can sort of elaborate because you're quite well versed on the multiple parts that affect health.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Ken was talking about executives, these guys are making lots and lots of money. They're stressed out. They have heart attacks because of the stress. And I think that they're so busy running around trying to get these things done. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in charge of, $1 billion in assets. Talk about stressful. I don't, you know, so, but they're stressed out, they're smoking, they're eating poorly. But what they're not doing, and I mean, some might be doing this, but they're probably not going out in the morning before they go to work and getting the sun in their eyes, not without sunglasses, because that's going to lower their stress level and their cortisol right away. And in the middle of the day, they're probably not out in the in the foyer or whatever of the building outside, getting that midday sun, lowering their blood pressure, because high blood pressure is not good. And at the evening, they're busy trying to go home in their commute. They'll have their sunglasses on. They got their phone. They're freaked out about some particular, something that's going through in an investment or something, but they're not out, looking at the sun coming down, because that's going to calm them down and start their to be able to sleep. The other thing they're not doing is they're probably not nose breathing. And that's in my book. I have a whole chapter on breathing. When you mouth breathe, you create more stress for the body. The body gets less oxygen, which causes more inflammation. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because, I'd love to work with some executives. They need my help.
Yeah.
All they have is these coaches telling them, okay, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Jones, I want you to go exercise and go eat right. About nose breathing. And so there's so many things to this, Ken, that are.
Yeah. I think it's the same as the doctors thing, that they are told to do this and whatever. And I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but I'm kind of wondering that, is there, do they get kickbacks for sending out metformin or empagliflozin or whatever? Maybe they do. I don't know, right? So I mean, I think that there's a twist there, right? Obviously we know exactly what was going with OxyContin and Purdue in the States and all the rest of it, back a while. I mean, that was hideous, and I think possibly the medical profession is like a microcosm of a smaller one than the Purdue, sort of in your face aspect of the OxyContin. But I think it comes down to back to the people, and I think you're right. Whatever education people need. I mean, I don't really need education and exercise, because that's one thing I've got sorted, right? Even today, yesterday, and in the future, I've got that sorted. I know I've got that sorted. I've got the lifestyle pretty much sorted. I've always been trying to get out and do things and whatever. The most stressful thing I've ever done is run 2 of my own companies, which had a headquarters in Atlanta and here in Winchester. I mean, that was like 300 people, of which were mine. And that was the most stressful thing. Working for an investment bank, piece of cake compared to that. But I think it's a balance of, you have to look at the person and go, what are they missing, right? Because I'm not missing the exercise. I'm not missing the kind of lifestyle thing, because I've never ever smoked, which I think.
But hold on, let me stop you really quickly there, because I think, your lifestyle thing, but I think you are missing some things in lifestyle that are really critical, like the red light glasses that Liddy has on. These are some things that you, if you tried them, Ken, you might go, wow, that's so. I think there are some things that you might not have heard of, like the glasses and the circadian rhythms, things like that are so critically important that most people don't know about. There's something called structured water, and
we're going to do a party trick.
There's something called structured water, and this is critical. Carl's seen this, but water, as you know, everyone's got to drink water. Water is like critical for life, but all the water we're drinking is dead water, so to speak. So when it comes out of your pipes or whatever, it's not energetically, balanced for your body. And so your body creates something called structured water, which it uses to do all its functions. And if you don't drink it, then the body has to make it. And what structured water is like a gel, right? So water's not sloshing around your body, it's like a gel. So there's solid, liquid, gas, and structured water, which is a gel. And that's what is how your body runs. But so if you don't drink it, you have to make it. This device makes it for you right here. And it stays permanently structured. So what happens is, if you have this device, the body doesn't have to work to structure it. And up to 50% of your energy every day goes to structuring water. So if you drink it structured, you save approximately 50% of your energy. Now, what this is going to do, it's going to mimic nature. In nature, water flows back and forth in rivers like this gently. In society, it goes through pipes at right angles, right?
Yeah.
Water does not flow that way naturally, so it destructures it. In nature, you have the oxygen, you have the minerals in the bed of the river, the sunlight, all that structuring the water to make it healthy for your body. So what this device does is it spins the water around in a vortex, because a vortex is what helps to structure it, okay? So there's this piece in the middle. These aren't the balls that come with it, but they will suffice. Now I'm going to spin this over, and the water's going to go into a spiral like a tornado through this piece and then into here. Okay, watch. Might spill a little bit, but it's okay. See that tornado?
Yeah.
You see that, Carl?
It's like watching Blue Peter.
You get your badge in the post.
I was going to say, I want Blue Peter badge for that.
Like that. So that's how water goes in nature. Imagine a whirlpool, imagine a river, imagine the ocean, the waves crashing. That's actually structuring water, because water is always moving. Okay? So now, if you drink this water, it's structured. And the gentleman that's created this device, the brilliant man in Australia, he's been tested by scientists, because he's a scientist himself, to make sure this is permanently structured. And he's done hundreds of experiments to make sure it's permanently structured. Because other people that have devices, theirs stay structured for maybe a few days, and then it destructures. And then the body has to restructure it when you absorb it. But his devices, and this is a portable one, you can get one for your whole house that structures the water in your shower, in your sink, for your food, everything. And then, so when you
this is just about the movement, or I mean, what about the quality that goes in? Because obviously, come from central Scotland, the quality of the water is excellent, right? I live in Winchester, Hampshire, and in London, it's just horrifically bad.
But, that's even better. So if the water is clean, it's going to make it even better. So, but you could take tap water and put it through here, because what this thing does too, it's kind of woo-woo, but it takes the energetics of the pollution or the pollutants and the toxins out of the water. And what it does, when it structures it, so let's say you have a pollutant that's glyphosate or some chemical. When it structures it, it takes each individual element and puts a structure of water around it, so they're now separated into individual elements. So they become inert and not toxic anymore. So when you structure it, you can take glyphosate or PFS or whatever chemicals in the water, and it turns it into elements and makes them inert, so they're not combined. So then you drink it, and if you drink spring water, really great water, it's even better. You never heard tea, but you've never heard that before. So let's
so you just take.
Let's say one of your executive friends, one of your executive friends was doing all these things, but they're not drinking structured water. Is this a game changer?
Yeah, we did a taste test, and the kids did it. On Thursday night when Ben arrived, we all did a taste test, and we all realised that the structured water tastes so much different to spring water. So we had spring water, just normal mineral water, and we put it all into glasses. We even got shitty tap water, and we structured shitty tap water to structured water, and even you could smell like the chemical, and then you structured it, and it's completely different. And the kids even worked it out, and they're 7 and 11, and they even said, "Oh, we prefer that one." Yeah, and all it was.
Interesting. And that's what I'm saying. No, not many people know about it. A very small percentage of the population knows about it, but that's how important this is. And we were just back to the beginning of the conversation. So, if someone's drinking structured water, they're getting the sunlight, they're nose breathing, they're eating right, their problems don't go away, but you get significantly better. from what, because the machine, the body of the city, like I call it, health city, is designed to fix itself. It's designed to fix itself.
So two things.
Yeah.
So two things. So one, where'd you get one of them? Did you buy that, or
yeah? So
where'd you get one?
So they're MEA devices. If you go to ultimatehealthmodel.com, that's our website, and you get one of these. There's also full house ones you can get. So Ultimate Health.
Well,
and then
ping it on the chat, and I'll pick that up.
Yeah, you get one. This is the portable one.
And your other point, Ken?
The what?
Yeah. So what I'm interested in that, and where I get one. So if you just put that in the chat, that's fine. So the second one is, no, you're quite right, and this is what I mean is that I had the exercise sorted, and as I said, I've never smoked, and I do drink, but kind of, if I drink, I drink, but if I don't drink for a long time, anyway, sort of thing, right? But it's what you don't know, right? And I didn't know about the water, right? And there's other things that I don't know. And I think this is my point about where I was going with the FIE, because I knew about, I knew about the exercise. I knew about, being as, trying to get out and about as much as you can. Didn't know about the structured water, obviously. So that's one thing I didn't know, and there's probably other things I don't know. But this is what I was trying to say before we kind of started this, was that you got to look at the person and sort of say, right, if they have a square of 6 squares, and it might be 8 squares or whatever, right? So 6 squares, and one would be food, one would be exercise, one would be, I don't know, structured water, one would be something else. And if you were able to, not just the food, because that's what was missing from my point of view, right? And being a selfish person, right? This is what I'm missing. So if you were then to then go, well, here's your 6 squares or 8 squares, and fill this in. What do you know about that, right? And you could then sort of say, well, you got 1, 2, you got 3 out of 8, right? So you're going to have to look at the 5 here and make an attempt on that, right? This to me is about the education, and not just.
Let me show you this.
Oh, you got it.
What you said. This is the Ultimate Health Model that I created, and it's on my website. Exactly what you said. It's got the structured water on there. It's got exercise, and it's a model. People just follow this thing. That's exactly the beginnings of my empire of this cell city. This is the start of it. Exactly. It's food impact education. It's more health impact education. So they do that, and the bottom side is the ones you don't want to do with unhealthy people. And the top one's the things you want to do. You put that on the bridge and you follow it.
Yeah, no, absolutely right.
Just simple.
Yeah, just what you were saying, Ken.
Because reading all the metabolical, you got to go reams and reams and reams. And what's my takeaway from that, right? And you got to digest all this. Well, first of all, you got to understand it, right?
Yep.
Then you got to digest it. Then you go, well, what is my action from this, right? And this is where these books like Metabolic and all the rest of it absolutely fail, because I'm hanging on, right? I'm reasonably intelligent. I'm hanging on to this and going, I'm noting things down, right? With the cholesterol, the high cholesterol, the low cholesterol, the cholesterol in the middle that people don't even, talk about, the doctors don't talk about. And I go, well, and I said to my doctor, why do you talk about that? He says, well, because it's difficult to measure. And I says, well, what do you mean it's difficult to measure? I said, if it's part of us, you should be, you should be metricizing that and giving us a view as to what we should do. He said, well, we don't have any medication for that. I said, there's the point. You don't have any medication, so therefore you can't monetize that, because you can't monitor it. Therefore, you can't monetize it. But what about the cause? Right, it's back to the cause. So going back to the metabolicals and stuff like that. If that could be, I'm definitely going to read your book and get your book. Is that if that were to be in the syllabus at schools?
But that's exactly
schools.
Right? A 10-year-old could understand this, right, Carl?
Well, I understood it, so that's about right. Yeah, a 10-year-old, yeah.
But exactly what you're saying, Ken, that's exactly why I did this, because when I was writing this, I looked at reviews of other books, Metabolical, what's the other one by Dr. Ken Berry? It's Lies My Doctor Told, all these different books. And I'd read the reviews, Ken, and then people would say, this is way too hard to understand. This is way too scientific. This is way, And so that when I was writing my book, I thought, how do I make this so everyone can understand? And it's won a gold award, and there's no other health book that I know of that's won an award.
Yeah.
So this is exactly what you're talking about right here. This is it.
Yeah. Do you know the reason I think that they made it quite technical is because it's all about validation, right? Because people can poo-poo it. Right, exactly. Right. Well, I'm saying this, and here's all the valedictory issues, the points that I'm making here to back up what I'm saying, right? So they're writing it for themselves to say, look how important am I, and how cool am I, and how I'm getting a gold star for this, or diamond over here, right? So they're not actually looking at the education, whether it be food education or cell education or whatever, right? They're not looking at the education. They're looking at the validation of what they're saying, making the book difficult. Now, I'm getting through a chapter, right, and my wife's kind of over the other side of the room, and I'm like going. It's just going a tough one. I says that was really tough. I might have to read that again and just say right. But I mean, it comes back to we should be educating the kids, right? And we should be educating the doctors and educating the general public, right? So this is where I think the medical profession, the education profession, and the government need to step in and have something like this and sort of say this is a must-read book, needs to be on the curriculum or whatever. Now, I'm sure you will get someone, as all these other guys say, oh, well, I fell out with him, and I fell out with him, and I fell out with her, and, because it's, I'm sure writing books is another ecosystem, right?
Ken, that's the thing about this book, too, is that, see, we don't bash anybody. Metabolical is demonizing the sugar industry, saying they're killing every blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This says, no. If you understand this ultimate health model and Cell City, then you don't have to be freaked out. There's no villain involved. It's a whole different way of looking at this.
At the end of the day, it's us that are responsible for our health. We've got into a culture where we rely on the doctor, the medical setup, and unfortunately, and I don't want to get too political here, but any politician, regardless of America, here, whatever, when they get into politics, they need sponsorship. They get people to sponsor them on their elections and all that. And how often is it food-orientated companies, drug companies? So there's a conflict of interest there. Answering your earlier question, from what I understand, and Al always slaps me on the wrist on this one, but most GPs get about a half a day on nutritional training in their entire training course, which validates what you've just said.
That was the 0.08%.
Yeah. And then the other bit is a lot of, I don't know if it's the same in Scotland because you're slightly different national health system, Russ, but here, a lot of surgeries, part of their revenue from the government comes based on subscriptions of certain drugs. So that's not necessarily getting a doctor to sit down. He only has minutes with a patient because the strain they're under. And I'm not knocking any GP because I think they do a brilliant job. But they have limited time. It's so much easier to subscribe a pill than it is to go into what the root cause is. And interestingly enough, last December at the venue where Lydia is now, we had the BBC come and they're doing a documentary. We'll be 2 or 3 minutes of it probably, but it's all about why are people switching to things like online to get medical advice as opposed to doing the traditional way. And I think it's because people I myself believed everything. I believed that breakfast was the correct meal of the day. I believe
it's a generational thing, right?
Yeah, well, the breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you research it, it was a Kellogg slogan. It wasn't even a medical advice. It was picked up based on what Kellogg's did as a promotional thing, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Being carnivore, I think I've had breakfast twice in the last 4 months because I'm not hungry when I wake up.
Do you know
My
what?
body is satisfied. Go on, Ken.
So 2 things there. So I think the doctor thing is a generational thing, right? In 1976, I was 16, right? You went to the doctor, as your mum and dad said, well, the doctor knows best. He knows whatever he says goes, right? And that's locked in. And literally, it was about 2 years ago, I started asking questions, and then I started really asking questions at the back end of October when this happened to me. And I said, well, why is this? Why is that? Why is this? Why are you doing this? Why? I didn't even know that. I suspected that they were getting some kickbacks for the pills, but I mean, it wasn't in my daily ecosystem. But so therefore, you ask, 100 people, and you might get 8 that might sort of say, no, I'm happy to challenge the doctor. You will still get 92 people who will go, no, well, he knows best than I don't know anything, right? You've really got to start deep diving into this stuff to sort of see where you're going with it. And not everybody has the time or, the inclination or even the question to, even have the guts to ask the doctor a question, right? They just take it and move on. And I guess, and I forgot what the second one was going to be, but
so the other thing, I don't know if you had the same, Ken. When I was large, no one was worried about my health. The minute I started eating lots of fat, lots of meat, stop eating vegetables, stop eating fruits, stop eating potatoes and breads and all that, and started losing weight, suddenly everyone became a doctor who was saying, you'll make yourself ill eating that. And I'm like, I've just lost 10 kilos. Yeah. I've just lost 20 kilos. Why would I want to stop doing this?
Exactly. Well, I remember the second thing. And to your point, Carl, right? And this is totally independent. So when I was running or ski instructing, whatever, even playing football. So I've got a band now, and I've played music since I was 10. And if I do any of these activities, I tend not to eat, right? I might have a nibble, right, just to make sure I'm not hungry. But I'm not going to sit down there, have a big pie and chips, and then go out and try and play guitar, because your diaphragm is just it's just uncomfortable. I can't play football. I've never eaten before I played football. I might have a cup of coffee and half a croissant or something like that in the morning. We used to live in Belgium. Running, absolutely not. You would not put a big breakfast in your tummy, because it just slows your metabolism down. And what you want as a 100, 200 meter runner, you needed to be on it and fast, right? So even going to work, 10, 15 years ago, even during the bigger days, right? I wouldn't have breakfast. I'd have a couple of cups of coffee. And I might get to, and this is before I knew what was going on, I might get to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and think, well, I know when my body needs something, I'll go and get a Snickers and stuff that in, and then eat in the evening. I've always been like that. And it's got nothing at all to do with what's happened to me or my enlightenment, is that I just don't feel comfortable eating. If somebody said, let's go for a big fry up, at 9:30 in the morning, and if you do that after a night out, you just would be sick. Right? I mean, putting that amount of stuff in your body in the morning is I struggle for the rest of the day. I'd rather eat in the evening, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Tonight was 6:30. Stir fry prawns, or good stuff. And that's me. I really don't. I might have an apple later on or something like that. But having a huge breakfast, who does that, and why? Because and I can see the people who are doing that. They're well.
There's programming.
I want to say something about that, Ken. And that's exactly one of the things on the Ultimate Health Model. It says constant. What's it say here? It's constant eating and what's it say? I wrote this thing. Calorie restriction, intermittent fasting is on the green side, and eating all the time, not giving your body a break is on the red side.
Yeah.
That's what you said. Is that, think about it, the body is not designed to digest calories all the time. It wants a rest. The stomach and the gut need a rest. When people eat and they're snacking, constant snacking is on the red side. And that's what our society has told us to do, is you get a protein bar or you do this. So you're constantly putting food in the mouth, which is raising
under pressure.
Insulin. All the food you're putting in your mouth has sugar, which is raising insulin. And the body is like, dude, stop, man. Give us a rest.
Yeah. So as I said, I was a type 2 diabetic, right? And my numbers have been 50. So my mmol was like 53, 55, 57, 60, 57, 55. It's kind of up and down, right? So after the Dr. Al episode, right? And reading these books. So both my sons are type 1 diabetics, and both of them hadn't tried the Libra. And I went, well, okay, yeah, so there's no point in me trying the Libra because I can't inject to bring things down. But this is what happened, right? I spoke to my diabetic nurse. I says, look, I want to try this because I've got a new Libra on tonight. I'm putting a new one on tonight. This one's just about finished. So I actually worked out the last 3 months, 3 months only, right? Well, 5 months now, but the last 3 months, it was 61, right? It's now back to 53 with one of the pills taken out because the empagliflozin was dropping protein into my bladder, and that's what caused the UTI. So we've kicked one pill into touch, and I'm now just on 2, and by using the Libra, I can see what I put in my mouth and what the effect it has because it's all on the system, It's all on your phone, right? So I now know that crisps, right, shoot me through the roof, so I don't have them, right? I've actually fasted and then tried this, fasted and then tried that, fasted and tried this. Now I know how to keep myself stable on the pills, because if I just keep throwing it in there, I'm on my way to insulin. I will be somewhere or other, right? But I've just given myself a ton of headroom for the next 2 or 3 years, I think, by using the Libra. But here's the second thing, is that I said, well, I said, thanks for that. You give me one. And so can I get that on prescription? They said, no, you can only get it if you are insulin dependent.
Yeah.
And I went, well, hang on. Wouldn't it be better, from what I've gone through, is to prescribe these, because that'll bring down, but no, they're not doing it because they're still shipping out the pills, right?
Well,
yes.
And this will reduce people bringing the pills in.
100%. That's self-help again, isn't it? And I'm really keen, and I'm going to do a really shameless plug here just before we wrap up anyhow, because on Saturday at Lydia's venue, we have got a metabolic meetup, and one of our guests is Spencer Martin, who does CGMs and various other monitoring bits and pieces. And I've been doing an experiment. He's going to be using my results for part of his talk, so I'm a bit nervy, but I think I'm all right. And but obviously we've got Benjamin talking, we've got Eddie Abu, we've got Lee for the Kent Carnivore, we've got Dr. Abs, and we've got the fantastic Sarah Pugh, who's obviously a fantastic she's worth the ticket money alone, sort of thing. So we do only have a few dozen tickets left, and if anyone wants to get tickets, I'd love to make it a sellout event. That would be very cool. So sorry, Ken, I just want to use you as my shameless plug. Hang on, I'm pressing too many buttons here.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, if I knew about it, it was available, I would come along.
Can you hear me?
Why can't I get rid of this?
That's
it. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
and what have I done now? So this is me being an absolute idiot, not realising what I'm doing. Hang on, let me just escape this. We've lost Ken. Oh, there he is. Right. So how do I change this back? Here. Yeah, I know you're here. I've got to lost you on the bloody screen somehow. Oh, it's because I pressed the wrong. Hang on. There we go. Sorry.
I wanted to say that the monitor Libra, all these things. So when they're measuring your blood sugar, everyone always talks about the food, but exercise increases blood sugar, stress increases blood sugar.
Yeah.
So these readings are not always, and so people think, okay, if I don't eat the cookies or I don't do this, but you could be on carnivore, and then your blood sugar gets raised, you get stressed out, you're exercising or whatever, your inflammation.
Yeah.
Go up anyway. And so that's another thing that I talk about in my course and my program and my book, is that once again, everything's interconnected, and when you understand that principle, then everything just kind of goes, it just makes sense. You kind of relax about it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's not just the one facet; it's a multifaceted thing. But I think you need to look at all the facets to sort of get the whole, right. And what I was missing was the food education. The Libras give me another facet into that as well. And I know that's not just connected to food. I go to the gym and it spikes because that's me doing what I'm doing, right. But at least I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because before I was blind. Right? I'm just throwing this in, throwing that in, going to the gym. No idea. So
right, I love you all, but
yeah,
I'm wrap it up.
Happy.
Ken, stay online
I'm
because I
happy
want
to
to set you
continue
up.
the
I want
journey,
you
Carl,
to
if
come and
anything,
do.
if you want it.
I want you to come and do an interview for my channel, The Primal Lifestyle, because I think your story would fit in very much with my other interviews and all that. So stay online while I wrap up. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for watching. If you haven't got tickets already for the Metabolic Meetup, snap them up now. The ones that have, look forward to seeing you on Saturday. It's going to be a bloody awesome day.